Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Mr. Almighty Lewis back at you with another video. Oh yeah, and today we're going to be talking about why it's important to know if you are an introvert or you're not an introvert. So before we get started with today's video, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Almighty Lewis. If you're watching this on Instagram and if you're watching this on YouTube, just subscribe to the channel, please. It would help me a lot. Why is it important to know if you're an introvert or not? So first of all, let's address the whole introvert situation. So a lot of people don't believe in the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. And I get it, because a lot of people don't like to associate themselves with one or the other, because then they feel like they're stuck and they have to pretty much pertain themselves to that specific one, whichever one you are. So if you're an introvert, like, you're meant to just stay in your introverted zone, and if you're an extrovert, you're pretty much just obligated to stay in your extroverted zone, right? And so one cannot cross over with the other, and that's absolutely wrong. That's not what my channel here is all about. I'm not here to tell you like, hey, be an introvert and just do introverted things and never ever, attempt to do anything that's very extroverted. As you can see right here, I'm actually making a video for you guys and I'm pushing myself here. And I am an introvert, and it's not really in my nature to, come out here, put some cameras on and start filming, video about self-development for you guys, for you introverts, because it's not in my nature. However, I've put in the work, I've put in the practice, and this is more of a extroverted sort of activity. But as you can see, with enough practice, with the right foundation, with the right mindset, you can actually achieve things that only extroverts can do naturally. And that's what my channel is about. My channel is about you embracing your introversion. So if you're an introvert, you'll understand what you're really good at, what are your strengths, and then use those strengths appropriately. But also understand that you will come across challenges as an introvert that will require you to step out of your introverted zone and step out there and really make things happen and do more activities that are more extroverted. Maybe you're a guy, so as a guy you may have to step up and talk to a girl that you find very attractive, right? That's not very introverted. You can't really, walk up to her and systematically try to convince her that you're the right guy for her, because that's just not how attraction works. And so in that case, you're gonna have to step out of your introverted mind and start to step into a more extroverted territory, where you're gonna be a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more out there, right? Perhaps you need to go to an interview and you need to impress the employer there, so you're gonna have to speak in a certain way where that employer is impressed. And so that's going to require for you to step out of your introverted zone. There's many occasions where you will have to step out of your introverted zone just to get what you want and be able to advance and really make the best out of your life. And so that's really what my channel is about. My channel is about you understanding and knowing if you are an introvert or not. So I've made a separate video. Actually, I've made a few videos here on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Instagram, go and check those out. I've made videos here on my channel where I pretty much sort of give you a guideline as to what I believe makes an introvert. So if you still aren't sure if you're an introvert or not, go ahead and check those videos out, because I go into much deeper detail as to, you figuring out if you are an introvert or not. But this video is really about why it's important. It's important for you to know if you're an introvert, because if you are an introvert, that means that you have certain strengths and you have certain weaknesses. And because of that, you have to acknowledge what they are. So I've spoken about this in previous videos, but as an introvert, you have strengths like being able to hyper focus. You tend to be more honest. You tend to be a very, very good listener. As an introvert, you don't require too much stimulation from the outside environment, so you don't necessarily need loud music and high energy around you in order to be able to perform at high levels. Actually, you need the opposite of that. If you have more lonely time, you have your own space, you tend to perform a whole lot more better than if you were to be surrounded by a bunch of people around you. So you have those things, and there's so many more strengths that you have as an introvert. So knowing that, just think about how powerful it is to know these things, because once you know these things, you're able to move forward in life with much ease, because you understand yourself, you know who you are. And because of that, you're able to find your place in the world, really. And that's really what my channel is about, is for you to be able to find your place in the world. So if you're an introvert, you know what your strengths are, and then based on those strengths, you can go ahead and pursue certain passions. There's so many passions out there that you can pursue that can use your strengths. But if you don't know what your strengths are and you're wandering around trying this thing, trying this other thing, you're pretty much leaving it up to luck. And you're really hoping that you find something that you really like to do, and that you know, by luck, actually find something that matches your strengths. And that's really not a very optimal strategy. As we talk about here in the channel, we're all about strategy here as introverts. And so this is another thing about introverts, that we operate mostly on strategy rather than just, going with the flow and just wandering around and trying to see what sort of comes to us, right? We're more strategic. We like to plan things out. We like to systematically go out there and lay a series of steps that are going to get us whatever result it is that we desire. And so because of that, if you as an introvert, you understand that you operate that way, then you can go ahead and see how this can be very helpful. Maybe when you're picking a job, you pick a job that's more systematic. You pick an environment, you pick a company that operates in a way that's more systematic, in which you're allowed to use systems. You're allowed to use a series of steps, and everybody there understands that everything takes a series of steps in order to be accomplished. And so this will divert you from pursuing jobs that are not really fit for that, and where the companies and the owner and whoever works there, they tend to be more like all over the place, and they try to be like more like you sort of like go with the flow and improvise on the spot, and that tends to work really well with those type of people. But if that's not you, then you're gonna have a very hard time there, and there's really no point of pushing yourself if that's not who you are, because what you're really doing there is that you're playing at your weaknesses. And playing at your weaknesses, well, you can improve your weaknesses to a certain degree, but then you'll never be able to create massive value, or at least you won't never be able to tap into your fullest potential if all you're doing is playing at your weaknesses. So you have to play at your strengths. I don't understand why people really like to challenge themselves with their weaknesses, because there's really no point of doing that. Look, if you have certain weaknesses, accept them, embrace them. We all have weaknesses. There's nothing really to be ashamed of, right? I have weaknesses, you have weaknesses, we all have weaknesses. And the point is not to hide them. The point is to actually find alternatives to those weaknesses. So yes, one alternative could be to work on those weaknesses. But another one could be perhaps you pay somebody else who can perform your weakness, whatever your weakness is. It's their strength, so they can really do that you would like to do on your own. They can do it so much better. But of course, you have to be willing to hand over responsibility to somebody who can perform. And so that's another thing that you can do. You can either pay for that, or you can leverage certain people within your social circle that can do such a thing. But of course, you have to create a social circle first in order to make something like that happen. And so creating a social circle as an introvert will not be the same way as an extrovert will create a social circle, because an extrovert can create a social circle fairly easily, because they naturally are able to talk and communicate with people, very easily. As opposed to an introvert, like I said, introverts are more systematic, we're more analytical, we're more logical, we're more in our heads. So when the occasion comes for us to actually, start conversing with people, you see, communication and conversing with people is usually more like in the moment, more like present, right? There's less of a structure really to communication, unless of course the communication that's back and forth is an exchange of information. Then in that case, yes, it's more systematic, because you want to explain things in a certain way where the person doesn't get confused. So you might explain things, you might lay out like the basics, the foundations, first, and then lay out the more advanced things, because that's really how the system will work. When it's just a natural conversation where two people are just talking, there's an exchange back and forth, and there isn't really a purpose besides just bonding and really getting to know each other and really connecting and really matching the energy. An introvert will struggle a little bit, because like I said, we don't really tap into that type of deal there naturally. Like I said, we're more systematic, so we're more likely to engage into a conversation that at the end of the day has a specific purpose. So if that conversation doesn't have a purpose, most likely we won't really find any motivation or any incentive to even engage into the communication in the first place. So you see what I mean. And by the way, everything that I'm covering here, I cover in full detail here on my channel, which is for introverts. Because you see, introverts have to take a different approach to every single one of these things. And like I said, most of the activities and the things that I teach you in this channel are actually how to perform, certain things that really revolve around your weaknesses. Because whatever your weakness is, as an introvert, I'll cover the most common ones. But of course, if you have one specifically, you can always leave it down below in the comment section. If anything, I teach you how to handle your weaknesses as an introvert, just so that you're able to get what you want. Because that's really what matters at the end of the day. At the end of the day, all that matters is that you get what you want. So you're not really trying to become elite or professional at your weaknesses. What you're really trying to do is just get a good understanding and be able to do it good enough to get what you want, really. Because it's not like you're going to be playing at your weaknesses constantly, but there will be times where you will have, because you need to advance. And so that can be a challenge, and obviously I don't want you to get stuck. And so many people have the wrong idea that like you can only push yourself within your limits, within your boundaries of being an introvert. And that's not really the case, because I step out of my boundaries of being an introvert all the time. And that's because I need to do that. Because if I didn't do that, I would be stuck. Really, as an introvert, it can get pretty lonely. And believe me, I've been there. In the past, that's how it was. I was just stuck within my confinement of being an introvert. And believe me, there was times where I really loved it, but then there was times where there was things that I really wanted to do out there, but I just couldn't, because they went against my own nature of being an introvert, and I didn't really have any series of steps that could help me achieve and acquire the things that I really wanted to. Things like talking to that one girl, like I said, or things like hanging out with friends, going on trips, going to parties, going to concerts. All these things I had to say no to them, because I was trying to stay within my confinement of being an introvert. So, I was just like, I can't do that, because that's just like against who I am. Now, of course, in this channel, you'll learn exactly how to do those things if you really need to do them. Like maybe you want to go to a party because you're just trying to like clear your mind or something, and so I'll teach you how to go to a party. I'll teach you what actionable steps you can take while you're at the party, and what to do at the party as an introvert. What you can practice on, because once you go to a party, if you proactively go there, you can do things like practice on your communication skills, since most people at the parties are usually very free flowing. So you can just practice getting into that energy, getting into that mood, and really practicing how communication works when you just don't have any agenda behind the words that you're saying. You can also do things like picking up girls, like parties. There's usually a lot of girls that are single that go to parties, so you can go ahead and practice over there, go talk to a few girls. Another thing you can do, perhaps, if there's alcohol, if you drink, or if you don't drink, you can go and try new drinks over there. That's always good, just to know what your limit is, of course. Make sure that if you do such a thing, make sure you're surrounded by friends that you trust with your life to do something like that, okay? Because you never know what might happen. But I do teach you how to actually manage that in my channel here, and stuff like that. You go to concerts, you go to things here and there. I teach you exactly how you can manage those situations as an introvert, so that you get the experience, because you don't want to necessarily block yourself and keep yourself out of those experiences completely. Now, obviously, as an introvert, you won't find yourself doing those activities very often, because you are an introvert, and like I said, doing those things are your weaknesses. So it's not like you're going to be going to concerts and parties all the time, because going to those things is part of your weakness. Like there's things like, your energy is going to deplete, because most likely you're going to be in situations where you will have to talk a lot. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of people, which can be already draining in of itself, because there's just a lot of people talking. A lot of chatter going on. it depletes an introvert. Things like high stimulation, usually at parties they play very loud music, there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of crazy people just drinking all over the place, there's a lot of people dancing, screaming, a lot of high stimulation. Concerts, almost the same thing. So these are things that can really deplete an introvert. So you don't want to be doing these things too often, unless of course there's a purpose behind it and you know exactly what you're doing and you proactively go there consciously. You know exactly what to expect. You prepare beforehand. You prepare mentally and physically. So these are things that I teach you here on my channel, and many more things. But of course, first of all, you have to embrace the fact that you're an introvert. You have to accept it, or at least, you know, do your research. Like I said, I have videos here on my channel that can really help you decipher if you are an introvert or you're not. So check those videos out if you can. And if you are an introvert, I please ask you to please subscribe. And this is not just for me to get more subscribers. This is because the content that I put here can really help introverts. And believe me, I know this to be a fact because I myself have implemented every single thing that I talk about in this channel. There's not a single thing here that I'm just making up and coming up with. These are things that I implement every single day. Maybe not everything, but I've applied everything at some point in my life, and I've succeeded at it, and I've gotten what I want. And I still, to this day, I still implement the things that I teach you here because, you know, life goes on and there's still things that I want out there. And so I'm constantly, you know, applying these things. I can teach you what these things are, but first of all, you have to know and understand that you are an introvert, and that's very important. Because if you don't know if you're an introvert or not, then you lose power because you don't know who you are. So you don't understand your foundation, you don't understand your roots, you don't understand your strengths. So that's the purpose here of knowing if you're an introvert or not and why it matters. So it matters, it does exist. I've seen a lot of people who don't believe that introversion and extroversion exist, and that's really up to you if you decide to not believe that. I'm just here to tell you that it does exist. That's my opinion, that's what I believe, and that's why I created this channel. So if you don't believe in these things, well, you don't have to watch my channel. There's so many more channels here on YouTube that you can watch. And so this is specifically for the people who do believe that introversion exists, and you believe that you're an introvert yourself and you want to improve your life. You want to go after the things that really demand for you to step out of your introverted zone and go get those things. And at the same time, you want to improve on the things that you are really good at. You want to take them to the next level, and you want to find strategies and techniques that can help you get there. So that's what my channel is about. That's why it matters to understand if you are an introvert or not. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video a lot. And like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure you share this with your friends, family, whoever you think they might benefit from watching this video, and my channel, of course. And make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and I will see you guys in the next video.